Alright, hello everyone. It's certainly been a while since I've had to call out Channel 1, but again, it seems by Spectrum standards, we are just getting ignored again by them as usual. And as Pat Kiernan acts snobbier by the day, it just seems that, we're constantly being forgotten here. And I want to mention the other day when I was coming back from Manhattan, back on Tuesday, I did notice there was a homeless individual uh, right at the Kew Gardens Union Turnpike Station. And I have not noticed that in a very long time. All right. The person with the blanket was not there when I took the subway at right before 12 noon on Tuesday. All of a sudden, the person just comes there with a blanket. So yeah, just another example of how ignored we are in Queens as usual, and it's just so disgraceful what has happened around here. Now, given that a couple of weeks ago, I called my city councilman Jim Gennaro to complain about a speed limit sign down on Union Turnpike and Main Street, which, by the way, is right by his office. At least he took care of that, but there are signs that we are, in fact, getting ignored here in Queens. I mean, you want blatant proof? We'll just take a look at Channel One's website. Yep, so this is what you're going to see on Channel One's website. I mean, given that we do need lifeguards, and we've had a lifeguard shortage problem for a while at Bay Terrace and at Astoria Park, which is our... Well, actually, no, we have a tiny pool in Little Neck, but most people here in Queens, they go swimming, they go to Astoria or Bayside, alright? So basically, since we need lifeguards, that's prioritizing, right? But, in order to find the top story about the Soho hotel murder suspect, you gotta go way down. And believe me, we will play the video from them later today, but, nothing about the lady who was given a 20 plus year sentence about the 2021 awful incident on the LIE, which we're going to get into that, so I want to go into Queens and see what happens when we click on here. Yeah, I mean, nothing here. This is a disgrace. You gotta click on here just to find it. And no, we're not going to, read the article. In fact, we gotta get into the other subway crime news, which I'll put that in a separate tab as we go along here. I want this to load. So we'll play the video also as we go along here. But I'm going to give another example of how we're getting ignored in Queens. Alright? Nothing about the fires that we've had here in Queens, which I do want to get into that in this video as well. Alright? But, you're supposed to be covering all these stories, Channel 1. You are our 24-hour TV station for news for the five boroughs. And yet, again, this is what happens. I keep saying time and time again that we're just Staten Island 2.0 here. We're ignored. I mean, we're constantly ignored here. So here we go. Not only did Channel 1 ignore this, but the rest of the media basically ignored this story. Alright, so this is what we know from Laura Uli on Facebook. So, back on Monday, the Kohl's on 188th Street and Horace Harding Expressway was hit. Yeah, so merchandise was stolen from the first floor of the building. So they basically just took whatever they could and just basically left the store. So, basically, this is what happens in my neighborhood. I mean, everything happens for a reason. And I'll just mention that a couple weeks ago, there was another robbery somewhere in the Fresh Meadow Shopping Plaza. But, again, this is what happens. And I got mad about it a couple days ago on my own personal Facebook page, and, I said, the demographics in my neighborhood basically will mean that you can earn $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, even $1 million in my neighborhood, and you still won't matter here. You still will not matter. Because in order to get a house here in my neighborhood, you need $900,000 minimum. Which is just crazy to even think about. Crazy to even think about. And then people complain, oh, there's not enough housing available. I don't even want to get into that today. That's not the purpose of this video today. That's not the purpose of this video today. The purpose of this video was to actually talk about something else that happened in my neighborhood 3 years ago in 2021, which we actually covered on this YouTube channel. And that is a woman from Long Island has been sentenced in a deadly hit-and-run incident on the LIE that killed an NYPD transit cop. Finally, guys, the justice has been served. Justice has been served. So here we go. Long Island woman has been sentenced to more than 20 years in prison for speeding through an NYPD roadblock while drunk and killing a highway patrolman in a 2021 hit-and-run collision on the LIE in Fresh Meadows. Jessica Bujovis, age 35 of Myrtle Avenue in Hempstead, was convicted in October of 2023 for aggravated manslaughter and other crimes following a 13-day trial in Queens Supreme Court. Bujovis had a blood alcohol level of twice the legal limit 2 hours after plowing into Detective Anastastas Takos while he was diverting traffic around another fatal collision and then speeding away from the scene of the collision. So there's Officer Takos. According to the charges and trial testimony on April 27th of 2021 at 1:45 a.m., Takos and his highway patrol partner placed traffic cones in a marked vehicle on the eastbound side of the LIE just near exit 27 for the Clearview Expressway to direct a traffic around a fatal crash. Takos was standing just beyond the roadblock at approximately 1:57 a.m. when Bujovis sped through the traffic cone behind the wheel of a 2013 Volkswagen Passat and struck him. The impact threw Takos and severed his left leg at the knee. His body landed near 170 feet away along the right side of the highway. Without stopping, Bujovis, whose license had been suspended, sped away from the scene and exited the LIE onto the Clearview Expressway with the NYPD in pursuit for nearly 3 miles. She eventually drove up on a sidewalk in front of 221-22 Horace Harding Expressway in Oakland Gardens, putting her vehicle in reverse and struck a police cruiser behind her. Bujovis was pulled away from her vehicle by police officers and was arrested. She had bloodshot and watery eyes, slurred speech, and a strong smell of alcohol on her breath. 2 hours after the fatal collision, she had a blood alcohol level of 0.15, nearly twice the legal limit maximum threshold of 0.08 for the state of New York. She told police that she smoked marijuana and drank wine earlier that evening. Now, keep this in mind. And this is very important to note that. This is very important, guys. Basically, the marijuana possession law in New York did not begin until later on in, I think, 2021 or 2022. So basically, at the time, marijuana possession was still illegal in New York at that time. So just keep that in mind. In a statement by Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz, quoted saying, her license had been suspended, she was drunk, and had been smoking marijuana. For everyone's safety and well-being, including her own, the defendant should have not been behind the wheel of a car. So, what I still want to know is, how in the world, this lady, what was she even doing in Fresh Meadows? Drunk and high behind the wheel. I just don't get it. Now, she actually had a plea deal. But guess what? The judge said, 20 years. And no apologies. No apologies should be accepted. Alright? Oh, by the way, this is getting ignored by the media too. We'll get into the Marine Parkway one. I forgot to bring that one up. And I will get into some rider news at the end of the video. I might as well, because I don't want to make things negative all the time, guys. Like, we actually have a positive Queens news story involving Vicky Palladino. In fact, 2 positive stories. I can't find the other one right now. But there you go. I mean, how in the world is Channel 1's website stay so disorganized? To me, I just cannot figure that out. Okay? Put this here. Okay. Reorganize this. So we have a couple fire stories that we're going to get into. 3 fire stories here in the borough of Queens, which barely got any media attention. So let's get into it here. The Queens residents who live above an Astoria laundromat described Wednesday afternoon as a terrifying moment for a 2-alarm fire tore through their apartments from below just hours prior. According to FDNY sources, a 2-alarm fire engulfed the laundromat center of Astoria at 28-17 38th Avenue at around 10:35 a.m. A massive plume of smoke rapidly spread through the entire building in minutes, according to one resident who was staying with a friend. Nichash Akam told the Queens Courier, "I was working on a laptop and I started to see smoke come in. As soon as I stepped out my front door, I saw a cloud of smoke and I literally knew something was wrong. I was like, I just gotta get the F out of here." Anakam said he quickly rushed out of the building and escaped through a rear exit. By the time he made it outside, he said his apartment had already become a thick smoke screen. Anakam said, "Had I been there for any longer, I would have fainted because there were thick smoke. I just had 15 seconds. When Anakam fled, he said it happened so fast that he unfortunately left his dog inside. Thankfully, responding firefighters were able to rescue the dog and reunite the pair." Aww. So that's the man who spoke to the Queens Courier. Here he is. And that's his dog. Very interesting there. Alright, so it says here that this fire lasted for 3 hours. It was placed under control at 1:07 p.m. During the hour-long battle, fire eaters could be seen smashing... Okay, that's a typo. That was supposed to say firefighters. Again! Every time I read articles from the Queens Courier, they always make a typo. Firefighters could be seen smashing windows, climbing over charred washing machines, and pulling down pieces of wall and ceiling. FDNY reported that 4 firefighters suffered minor injuries while dousing the fire and were rushed to Mount Sinai, Queens, while 2 residents were also injured, one of whom were transported to NY Presbyterian Weill Cornell Hospital. "I am just happy nobody lost their lives," one resident who asked not to be named said as she gathered her belongings. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. So there you go. I mean, this is the example of what you get right here. Ignored news as usual. And then look at this. Another fire yesterday. This one in Forest Hills. Right. The FDNY battled a fast-moving 2-alarm fire in Forest Hills early Wednesday morning that injured 1 firefighter. The blaze broke out in a 2-story private home at 114 Walnut Street, a block north of Forest Park at 2:34 a.m. Arriving units found heavy fire conditions through the basement, 1st and 2nd floors. Firefighters were hampered by an SUV parked illegally in front of a fire hydrant at the location. See, that's the problem. Look at that. So this was a Jeep SUV that blocked the fire hydrant. Wow. The FDNY transmitted a second alarm, bringing 25 units and 106 firefighters and EMS personnel to the scene. Nearby residents said the building had been undergoing construction in recent weeks, and firefighters were evacuated from the rooftop due to staggering conditions towards the rear of the home. Firefighters could be seen through a second-story window pulling down ceilings after flames breached the cock loft, the area between the roof and the ceiling. Yep, so there's a ladder right there. Firefighters braved frigid temperatures and used 5 hose lines to knock down the main body of the fire, which was brought under control at 4:17 a.m. Okay, so this lasted 2 hours. Searches through the building were negative, and one firefighter suffered minor injuries and was taken by EMS to Jamaica Hospital for treatment. The cause of the fire will be determined by fire marshals. And the Department of Buildings actually said something here. The fire had severely charred through the structure's walls and joists, compromising the building. The inspectors issued a full vacate order. The Department of Buildings issued a summons for the building being rendered non-code compliant due to fire damage and ordered the building owner to seal the building in the interest of public safety. So, yeah. Just glad nobody got hurt in this one. And then this is our last one here. The media actually did cover this one, I think. Yeah, the Masth one. Channel 7 covered this one. Now I remembered. So there was a 3-alarm house fire in Masth deemed accidental. 9 displaced families are being assisted by the American Red Cross. Alright, so this happened back on Monday. A mother and her 2 children were briefly trapped inside the home at 62-53 60th Road after the fire broke out in the rear of the ground floor just before 12 noon. Firefighters responded to the scene within 4 minutes of receiving the 911 call and rescued the mother and the children. They were transported by EMS to Elmhurst Hospital, where they were treated and released later in the day. 4 other people were injured, including 2 firefighters with non-life-threatening injuries, according to the FDNY. The fire was just brought under control at 1:38 p.m., so wow. What time did it start at? Oh, okay, just before 12 noon. Alright, so under 2 hours. Sadly, another building was involved. That's sad. Okay, it says here that the Department of Buildings determined that the 2-story building suffered major fire damage, and the neighboring building next door at 62-55 60th Road also sustained significant fire damage, which resulted in full vacate orders. Alright, so there you go. So this is what we know. 9 families were living in the homes, 20 children, 20 adults and 8 children. So they are being assisted. Alright. There you have it. This was accidental. So very, very unfortunate that people did get displaced during this. Alright, let's get into some other news. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more articles to read. Basically, I got 9 crime stories to get into. Then we're going to talk about the Marine Parkway Bridge. Then we're going to talk about Vicky Palladino. And then at the very end of this video, we are going to call out Alvin Bragg. Because I'm glad what's going on with that Soho incident, which we will get into, alright? The very end of this video, you're going to watch the video from Channel 1. Now, I was going to play another video from Channel 1, but I found articles about what's been going on at the Queens Plaza subway station, which we're going to get into as well here. So, let's read a couple of these stories. We have this one here in Ozone Park. A police officer was injured during a traffic stop. So this happened back on Sunday. So this happened at Rockaway Boulevard. A police officer was struck by a sports car. Yes. Driver of a black Chevy Corvette was traveling westbound on Rockaway Boulevard when officers pulled him over for speeding just after 9 p.m. at Centerville Street and 109th Avenue in South Ozone Park. One of the officers approached the vehicle. The driver stepped on the accelerator, running over the cop's foot as the Corvette sped away from the scene. The officer was taken to Jamaica Hospital, where he was listed in stable condition with minor injuries. So obviously we don't have a license plate. That's the way it is in New York. We just let the suspects get away with everything all the time. So there you go. I mean, maybe there's surveillance camera footage that somebody can figure out. Let's get into what happened here in Kew Gardens. So this happened on Main Street. Yes, this happened in the confines of the 107. I know exactly where this address is. 62-05 Main Street. Yeah, I know exactly where this is. Not too far from Queens College. Police from the 107 responded to a 911 call last Thursday night. Make sure I got it right here. Yeah, so this happened last Thursday. Pedestrian was struck in front of 62-05 Main Street, 8:14 p.m. Involving Young Rung Lu, lying on the roadway with trauma to her body and her head. Sadly, the victim was taken to Booth Memorial Medical Center in Flushing, where she was pronounced dead. Further investigation by the Highway District Collision Investigation Squad determined the victim was crossing Main Street eastbound towards Queens College when she was struck by the driver of a Toyota sedan who was traveling northbound on Main Street towards the LIE. The 63-year-old motorist remained on scene and was not arrested. So I'm wondering, because I know how hilly that area is, because the last time I was in that area was back in November when I actually had lunch with John Rinaldi. So again, I know this area very well. It could be hilly. Could speed be a factor? That is a very good question. That is a very good question, because again, I know that whole stretch of Main Street very well that goes near 73rd Avenue. Alright, let's get into what's going on in Flushing. 3 men sought for allegedly snatching cell phones from unsuspecting pedestrians in downtown Flushing in recent weeks. Police from the 109 precinct need your help searching for a trio of cell phone snatchers behind a series of grand larcenies in downtown Flushing in recent weeks. The 109 precinct is urging pedestrians to be aware of their surroundings as the pickpocketers have been targeting people in the commercial corridor. The 3 suspects forcibly removed cell phones from the hand of victims 3 times in just over a half hour in broad daylight 2 weeks ago, back on Friday, February 9th. The first incident occurred at noon in front of the Queens Public Library branch located at 41-17 Main Street. 3 men approached a 38-year-old man and snatched a cell phone before running south on Castina Boulevard. The crew headed east along Parkway Avenue, where they later targeted a 73-year-old man about 5 minutes later near the intersection of Bonet Street. Wow! Wow! Right by PS20. Right by a school. Unbelievable. Yep. Took a cell phone and running off eastbound on 41st Avenue. Cops then reported the trio resurfaced about a half hour later in front of a parking garage at 138-23 39th Avenue, when they snatched the cell phone out of the hands of the 74-year-old man before running off in an unknown direction. None of the victims were injured during the incidents. Okay, here we go. So according to the Crime Stoppers unit, one of the 3 suspects had a black bubble jacket over black hooded sweatshirt, black sweatpants, face mask, and black and yellow sneakers. There you go. I mean, this is, again, they covered themselves up because they think the cops will not find them. But we'll see what happens. Again, broad daylight. You know, that could have been me taking a 7 train. Just saying. Just saying. And lastly, in Flushing, 6 people sought in 2 grand larcenies at the same Flushing store in a 2-week period back in January. The 109th precinct need your help looking for a half dozen thieves who snatched items from a sunglass hut inside the Macy's on Main Street twice last month, marking off with more than $40,000 worth of merchandise. on both occasions. First on Monday, January 8th at 7:15 p.m., and again at the same time on Saturday, January 20th. The suspects did not operate like a smash and grab crew that has become prevalent along our country in recent years, not just our city, but the entire country. Instead, they worked in concert. The apparent ringleader stood with a duffel bag, and his associates fanned out through the store snatching merchandise off the shelves and front display cases, according to law enforcement sources familiar with the investigation. The first time they hit the shop, they removed merchandise valued at $16,780. The second time, they took merchandise more than $23,958. Okay, here we go. So we do have a suspect description from the Crime Stoppers unit. They are believed to be last seen wearing winter jackets and face coverings to protect their identities. Yep, that's what they look like right there. Through January 11th, the 109th Precinct has reported 165 grand larcenies so far this year in calendar year 2024, 3 fewer than the 168 report at the same time last year, a decrease of 1.8 according to the most recent CompStat report. Okay. Now to Jamaica, where an unhinged man was busted after firing shots off a rooftop. So this happened back on February 19th. So, before my mom interrupted me, I do apologize about that. This incident happened at 9:29 p.m. on February 19th. An unhinged man in Jamaica was taken into custody after firing shots off a rooftop at 163-19 107th Avenue and began wildly firing a weapon into the air. Sorry about that. Reports of the incident prompted a massive NYPD response, including the 103rd Precinct and emergency service unit members who came bearing through body armor and rifles, drones, and even helicopters. After police arrived on the scene, law enforcement sources said the shooter fled back inside the building. No shots were fired at police officers. Yep. This led to a standoff for over an hour until the alleged gunman apparently attempted to flee the building through a fourth floor window. ESU members then moved him, tackled the man, and placed him in cuffs. Well, it looks like nobody was injured. Alright, so that's the good news. Charges still pending. The suspect, the sources familiar with the investigation report, police are waiting to gain access to his property with a search warrant. The motive for the incident remains unclear. So this is probably an EDP. That's what I'm thinking. Alright, next up, we got this incident. 2 men sought an attempted armored truck heist at Queens Center Mall. So look at this. This happened back on February 8th. 2:10 p.m. A 53-year-old woman, an armed courier, was approached by one of the suspects as she was entering 90-15 Queens Boulevard in front of the Queens Center Mall. The perpetrator forcibly removed the courier bag containing $700 in coins, causing the victim to fall to the sidewalk. The victim's co-worker, a 51-year-old man, rushed to her aid and was able to secure the courier bag in the struggle with the assailant. The suspect ran away empty-handed and jumped onto the back of a black scooter operated by the second man. The woman suffered minor injuries to her right arm, and the 51-year-old security guard suffered minor injuries to his lower lip. Both victims refused medical attention. At the crime scene, the 2 suspects were last seen riding northbound on Nichols Avenue in Corona. The 110 Precinct, along with the Crime Stoppers unit, need your help to catch these 2 suspects. The suspects are last described on the black scooter. It says here that the attempted robber is 5'6" to 5'8" tall, slight facial hair, last seen wearing a white t-shirt, black pants, and light-colored sneakers. The operator of the scooter was wearing a black helmet, black shirt, black pants, and was wearing brown boots. Okay, now we're going to get into what's been going on at the Queens Plaza station. So we've had 2 attacks in the past week. A tourist from Spain was slashed in his neck in an unprovoked attack inside the Queens Plaza subway station in Long Island City last Thursday morning. Police from the 108th Precinct and Transit District 20 need your help for looking a knife-wielding suspect who allegedly assaulted the 29-year-old tourist as he was standing on the mezzanine level of the EMR line at 10:25 a.m. The stranger approached him from behind and proceeded to pull out a knife and slashed him across the left side of his neck before running out of the station in an unknown direction. The victim was taken to Elmhurst Hospital where he was listed in stable condition. A law enforcement source familiar with the investigation said the victim was a visitor from Spain and not from Brazil, as a number of news outlets had previously reported. So according to the Crime Stoppers unit, they are looking for a suspect described as a black male, medium complexion, last seen wearing a black vest over a gray hooded sweatshirt with a black face mask. Okay, and then let's get into this pipe incident, which was very shocking. I mean, again, that's crazy to think that, like, 2 incidents at the same subway station within a 48-hour period. That is just very alarming. Alright, so this one happened last Saturday, 12:54 a.m. Alright, law enforcement sources said the assailant approached a victim, a 31-year-old man, near the turnstiles, and 2 men quickly became engaged in a verbal dispute. Police sources said the reason for the argument was not known. Seconds later, police reported the perp pulled out a metal pipe and went on the attack. He reportedly struck the victim's head multiple times, then ran away on foot to parts unknown. The victim was taken to Weill Cornell Medical Center. The wounded man suffered head lacerations. Alright? So here is a suspect description from the Crime Stoppers. The suspect is a black male, believed to be around the ages of 40 to 50 years old, with a gray beard, medium build, believed to be 5 feet, excuse me, they're 5 feet 9 inches tall, last seen wearing a skull cap, gray hooded jacket, dark gray jeans, and tan work boots. Alright, so, let's get into the overall subway crime numbers briefly here. Subway crime has been on the rise. Alright, it has been on the rise. Alright, we had a mass shooting in a station in the Bronx recently. We've had a subway performer attacked at Herald Square. Alright, and I had intuition. Alright, I didn't want to leave from the Herald Square station back on Tuesday because I was like, I don't want to be there. I was so glad I went to the Bryant Park one after I was done doing what I had to do in the Midtown area on Tuesday. So according to what the NYPD is reporting, between January 1st and 28th, subway crime has been up. Robbery and grand larceny. Alright, so it's 72.6%. That is very alarming. However, there were 53 felony assaults during the period, which was up from 40. So again, crime is on the rise in the subway system. And believe me, I will be talking to New York City Transit about this on Monday because I am just so disgusted. Alright, so lastly, before we get into the Marine Parkway closure, I want to get into the Queens numbers that are now out for January. Felony assaults are on the rise. However, burglaries are slightly down in northern Queens. Alright. I don't want to get into... Alright, here we go. The 109th Precinct has had 54 to 30 decrease in burglaries. Ah, no, this is bad. So I want to read this one because this is the one that got me alarmed. Assaults are up in the 105th Precinct. Wow. 11.5% during the same 28-day period. That is very alarming. Alright. Here we go. Felony assault cases in the 105th are up 29 to 42. That is not good. I just want to quickly see the 107th before we move on here. Okay. Oh, no. That is not good. Uh-oh. 107 Precinct reports a homicide. That is not good. Okay, let me see. Robberies are up from 6 to 10 from 2023 number. Felony assault is up 20 to 22. 20 to 22 in terms of burglaries. Grand larceny went down by a few. Grand larceny down a few. Okay. So I quickly want to look at the 111 to wrap this up. That's Queens and North. So let's see how the 111's doing. Alright, so I just want to see if anything is noticeable here on the 111. Okay. So the only thing we do have are felony assault. But, yeah, it turns out the 111's actually had fewer crime than this time last year. So kudos to the 111 for trying to keep us safe in the area around Osnum Hall. And that is very pleasing news, at least. But my precinct, the 107, ugh, that is not good news. Not at all. Alright, now we're going to get into an issue that is a concern to the constituents of Councilwoman Joyanne Iolia. And that is the Marine Parkway Bridge. What's going on with the Marine Parkway Bridge, you may be wondering? Well, there is a concern about safety on the western end of the Rockaway Peninsula. Alright? Now, when is this closure expected to take place? You may be wondering. The bridge is expected to be closed for a period of 24 hours between tomorrow, February 23rd, and Saturday, February 24th. And thank goodness I just had my cup of tea. My mom was like, you better drink it now because then, you're going to keep coughing for most of the day. Alright, here we go. This is what we know right now. The Marine Parkway Gil Hodges Bridge that connects the west end of the Rockaway Peninsula to Brooklyn will be closed from 10 p.m. tomorrow night through 7 p.m. on Saturday. The 87-year-old bridge over Jamaica Bay, right? Right, this is the other bridge that goes to Brooklyn, but believe me, I know people in Joyanne Iolia's district who do use this bridge sometimes. Believe me. So it says here that 87-year-old bridge over Jamaica Bay will be closed in both directions for the replacement of the roadway deck panels. Oh, so this is right by Floyd Bennett Field. I know exactly where this is. So it says here motorists can use the Cross Bay Veterans Bridge 5.6 miles to the east as an alternate route. Service on the Q35 bus will be rerouted via a detour over the Cross Bay Bridge. So this is going to be a big headache on Friday night. Imagine all those people trying to leave the mall at King's Plaza. That's going to be a nightmare. When the closure was announced back last Monday, February 12th, residents in Breezy Point, Neeponissint, Bell Harbor, and Roxbury raised concerns over public safety. Breezy Point's residents typically use the bridge to travel to Brooklyn in case of medical emergencies, and Brooklyn-based firehouses frequently respond to fires along the western end of the peninsula. When free from traffic along the Belt Parkway, the trip between the bridges to the Rockaways could take about 13 minutes. And yes, thank goodness I mentioned Joyanne Iolia, because she was actually quoted in this article. Here's what she had to say. These repairs were certainly necessary, but there is nothing more necessary than proper access to emergency services, said the councilwoman. That's why we immediately contacted our partners at the MTA and negotiated a guarantee that emergency vehicles will be able to cross the bridge during the closure period. We absolutely do not want a tragedy to occur as a result of these upgrades. Right, of course, Robert Moses. Now, the bridge was renamed to honor former Brooklyn Dodgers infielder Gil Hodges in 1978. who of course managed the New York Mets to win the World Series in 1969. So, yeah, the media is probably not going to cover this as much, but that's why I am talking about it here on Andy's Randomness to, of course, let you all know what's going on here. Okay, where's the Vicky Palladino article? I just had it here. I am so sorry, folks. I will have to get that back up in just a second. The computer just literally glitched. See, I had a feeling it would be in the Acts of Kindness section of the Courier's website, but I might as well. Let's read this here. It was announced yesterday by New York City Councilwoman Vicky Palladino on March 1st, so save the date if you are a lady, because this is very important. This is about your health. Save the date. Next Friday, March 1st, Councilwoman Vicky Palladino is sponsoring a free mammogram bus in Whitestone for breast cancer screenings. The free service will be for her constituents who live in Whitestone, College Point, Bayside, Little Neck, Douglaston, and Northern Flushing. This bus will be equipped with X-ray machinery to bring the service to women who may not have proper access to a practitioner. This is being provided by the American Italian Cancer Foundation. The dedicated bus across the 5 boroughs provides free mammograms and breast exams to medically underserved women. Alright, so this is a very good thing Vicky Palladino is doing, because, you know, you got to account for the fact that, breast cancer is very serious. You know? It is definitely serious. Alright. The bus will be parked outside of her office located at 20-15 Francis Lewis Boulevard. If you need bus service to this area, you can take the Q76 bus, or you can use the Q16. Also, you can use the Q31 bus or the Q28's too far. Yeah, I think it is. I'm not that sure, but it might be walkable. So I have walked from Vicky Palladino's office to get the 31 before, but yeah. Next Friday, March 1st, the bus will be in front of her office between 9 a.m. and 4:30. To make an appointment, for those who meet the eligibility criteria, can call her office at 718-619-8611. The past slots have filled up pretty quickly, but walk-ins are welcome. Alright, so there you have it. Again, glad Vicky Palladino is doing this, because, again, this is very serious. I mean, very important. Alright, last but not least, to wrap up this video, we are, of course, going to watch a report from Channel 1 about the Soho apartment murderer. And yes, we are going to call out Alvin! Yep, I have to do that for emphasis every single time. Yes, we're going to call out this guy again, Alvin Bragg. I am so glad what is going on in Arizona, so I will quickly read the article here. Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell in Arizona has said that officials will not agree to extradite 26-year-old Ryan Amoroso to New York City, criticizing Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. So basically, she's doing the right thing, because you know how weak this guy is. We don't need to get into Alvin Bragg again on this channel, because I have extensively covered him way too many times. So, according to Rachel Mitchell in a statement, it's just safe to keep him here. Alright? Police claim Amoroso killed 38-year-old Denise Elise Aninoka of Queens when he allegedly beat her with an iron at the Soho 54 Hotel nearly 2 weeks ago in Manhattan. Mitchell seemingly refers to recent crime cases in which Bragg has come under fire. Alright? So, yeah. He was arrested Sunday for stabbing an 18-year-old woman in the city of Surprise, Arizona. Right, so there you have it. Meanwhile, Amanoso is being held in a Maricopa County prison without bail. And again, you know what would happen if this suspect was allowed to go back to New York. Guarantee you, they would charge him with a Class A felony, and because of our bail reform laws, you know what would happen. He'd be back out in the streets. So thank goodness this guy is staying in Arizona, because it's better, because Arizona is more of a law and order state. Let's just keep it that way. Alright? So to wrap this up, we are going to watch the video from Channel 1. Yeah, I guess this is the best way I can center it for you guys. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope I have informed you on what's going on here in Queens. And especially because, again, this is a proper ending. Because, again, the victim who was killed in Manhattan was from Queens. So obviously that's how I have to wrap up this video. So without further ado, let's watch Channel 1.
We are currently working with our partners in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office to arrange extradition back to New York City so he can be charged for the homicide here.
But we will not be agreeing to extradition. I've instructed my extradition attorneys.
Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell says no, officials will not agree to extradite 26-year-old Rahat Al-Mansouri to New York, criticizing Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg.
This is not aimed at the New York Police Department at all. Having observed the treatment of violent criminals in the New York area by the Manhattan DA there, Alvin Bragg, I think it's safer to keep him here and keep him in custody.
Police say Al-Mansouri killed 38-year-old Denise Olias Arancibia of Queens when he allegedly beat her with an iron at Soho 54 Hotel nearly 2 weeks ago. Mitchell seemingly refers to recent criminal cases in which Bragg has come under fire. In a statement, a spokesperson for the DA's office called the decision deeply disturbing and said, quote, New York's murder rate is less than half that of Phoenix, Arizona, because of the hard work of the NYPD and all of our law enforcement partners. It is a slap in the face to them and to the victim in our case to refuse to allow us to seek justice and full accountability for a New Yorker's death. Police say Al-Mansouri has a lengthy arrest record in other states, including domestic violence and assault. He was arrested Sunday for stabbing an 18-year-old woman in the city of Surprise, Arizona.
While speaking with Surprise detectives, Al-Mansouri indicated he was involved in a stabbing incident in Phoenix, Arizona, and in a murder in New York City, New York.
During his interview, Al-Mansouri also told us that he had intended to find and harm more individuals in our community.
The Manhattan DA's office says murders are down nearly 25% in the city since Bragg took office. Meanwhile, Al-Mansouri is being held in Maricopa County without bail. In Soho, Victoria Manna, New York 1.